What's up guys, welcome to a quick PSA video. I know this isn't my normal type of content, so if you're new here, I'm a photographer. I do all kinds of cool photography stuff, but this is definitely relevant enough to photography and photographers that I don't want to see this happen to anybody else. So what happened? I recently sold a camera on eBay, as a lot of people still do, and as I still do. And this is the first time that I've seen this scam, but basically the item sold and the person that bought it, eBay kicked out their address to me and said, let's generate the shipping label. And the person had good solid feedback, legit person, address confirmed through eBay and PayPal and all that stuff. And then this happened like at night, so this is why it like threw me off a little bit, because it was like right around the time I was going to bed. So I saw that somebody bought it and I figured, well, I'll deal with it in the morning. And then I get another message like 10 minutes later, and this is the message that I got. So it definitely looked suspect. I didn't think too much of it though right away, because again, it's like I'm like winding down, I'm going to bed. I get up the next morning and it's like, oh yeah, to get the camera ready to send out and everything, it's like, oh yeah, let me check that message. Things didn't add up, like red flags went off pretty quickly. Like, first of all, the text is like just weird, especially from assuming the type of text that someone who just bought my camera would send me. So that was weird. I mean, obviously the biggest red flag that I didn't catch immediately that I should have is that the username is not the same, and this username has no anything associated with it, no feedback, no nothing. And then you couple that with the weird text and how they end it with tanks with 3 S's and 2 hearts. Like, come on. That just did not match what I assumed would come from the buyer. But then they sent me this picture that goes with it, and it sends to this person on this address in Delaware. And it's like the person who bought it did not live in Delaware, and their PayPal, eBay verified address was not that. And it's just this huge red flags, And then you see the top of this bit, it chopped off a little bit, but it says don't exchange contact info to buy or sell outside eBay. And then you can see the rest where it says we scan in case of suspicious activity, manually analyze messages. So apparently this one slipped through their thing, because they should have analyzed this, and I did report this. So there's that. But I just wanted to show you guys, like, basically what I think happened here is that someone probably wrote a bot that scans eBay for a list, a criteria of items that are probably like small, high value items from relatively small sellers, individuals, I would assume. I don't know all this. I'm just going off of like how I would, code this or write this, or how I would do it if I were like nefarious. But basically, I think they wrote the bot. It scans for things. It found that I had a camera listed. It marked that, and then as soon as it sold, it kicked the info over to the scammer, who then either generated another, this message, had it generated, or they wrote it up and then sent it out, because it was like 10 or like 13 minutes later or something that I got this message. And at first it was like, did someone hack my account? Did they know? And then the second thing was, is this a scam altogether? Is the buyer a scammer too? And are they in cahoots? Because what I worried would happen is that, okay, if I were to do this and find out, that if the buyer were in on it, then basically I would send this camera to a different address. And then if it's like insured through eBay, which it usually is, and then eBay says, hey, we'll give the buyer the refund, because the buyer says, hey, I never got my camera. And then eBay says, okay, here's your refund. And then what I suspect would happen would be like eBay would email me and say, hey, the buyer never got your thing. We refunded them. Now you owe us the money back. So then I would have been out the money, and they would have gotten their refund, and they would have gotten a camera if they were in cahoots. It turns out they were not in cahoots. So the best thing you can do in this type of situation is email the buyer or message the buyer directly through eBay. And so I did that, and I said, hey, I didn't say any specifics, because if they are in cahoots, I don't want to let on or anything like that. But I just said, hey, I just want to double check and make sure that this this address that eBay approved for you is the legit address. And they wrote back and said, yeah. And we had a nice dialogue. And it turns out that they are like a normal human being who like just bought a camera. And it's like, okay. So, and I never ended up like divulging too much, because that's the thing, is you can be led on or tricked into giving too much information from stuff like that. So I was careful about that. And luckily, it turns out that everything was okay. But had I done this, the buyer would have been out a camera, and hopefully not their money, but potentially. But I would have been out a camera and money, and that would have been highly unfortunate. And I know that this isn't only on photography. I'm sure that this happens in every genre of eBay selling. But it just, the fact that I'm not on eBay very much. And when I am, it's usually looking for photography gear. So that's just today's PSA. If that ever happens to you, just pay attention, be very, have those internal red flags. If they go up, don't ever, like eBay said directly, don't ever like give out too much information, and go only through direct lines of communication, through eBay and stuff. And if you have a lot of red flags about it, then just reach out to eBay directly, and talk to their customer service or something through a verified email contact, form through eBay. Or, phone numbers I would be careful with, because a lot of people get scammed by phone numbers, people making fake websites with, a phone number that says this is our customer support, and you call it and it actually goes to a scammer, hotline or whatever. So I'm a little more leery of phone numbers these days. But if you can go straight in, log in on your computer or your phone or whatever to eBay, and then go to contact customer service and contact them directly through that way, I think that'll be your safest bet for getting someone actually with eBay. So that's my PSA. If you have any questions or comments or anything about this, or anecdotes or your own experiences, leave those in the comments below for me and for everybody else, because building this community and talking about it and sharing awareness is the best thing we can do to fight stuff like this. So comments down below. Check out my other videos if you're interested in learning photography, or just want to see some cool photography inspiration, whether it's tutorials, vlogs, whatever. I got all kinds of good stuff, and I got a lot of good stuff coming up. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.